Are you emotionally independent? Not in the Instagram quote way. I don't mean I don't need anyone with dramatic music playing in the background. I mean the quieter version, the one that shows up when no one's watching, when you don't get a text back, when plans fall through, when someone you care about is disappointed in you, when you're alone with your thoughts and there's no one around to regulate how you feel except you. Most people think emotional independence means being cold, distant, or detached, like you've cut yourself off from everyone and turned into some unbothered monk who floats above human emotions. But psychologically, that's not independence. That's avoidance, wearing a confidence mask. Real emotional independence is subtler and honestly, a lot harder. Let me paint a familiar picture. You're having a decent day, nothing amazing, nothing terrible. Then one small thing happens. Someone responds with a short reply. Someone cancels last minute. Someone doesn't react the way you expected. And suddenly, your mood drops. Your thoughts spiral. You replay the interaction. You wonder what you did wrong. Your emotional state just got handed over to someone else, like you passed them the remote control to your brain. That moment right there is where emotional independence either exists or doesn't. From a psychology standpoint, emotional independence isn't about not caring. It's about where your emotional stability comes from. Is it generated internally, or is it constantly outsourced to other people, situations, and outcomes you can't control? Your brain is wired for connection. That part is not your fault. Humans evolved to depend on social cues for survival. Being accepted by the group once meant staying alive. Being rejected meant danger. So when your nervous system reacts strongly to social signals, it's doing what it was designed to do. The problem isn't that you feel. The problem is when your entire emotional baseline is dependent on external validation. Think of it like this. Imagine your emotions are a house. In emotional dependence, the foundation of that house is built on other people's reactions. Compliments are load-bearing walls. Text replies are support beams. Approval is the roof. And the second someone pulls away, the whole structure shakes. Emotional independence doesn't mean you bulldoze the house and live alone in the woods. It means you rebuild the foundation inside yourself, so other people can decorate the space, but they're not holding it up. One of the biggest misconceptions is that emotionally independent people don't get hurt. That's not true. They still feel disappointment, rejection, sadness, loneliness. The difference is they don't collapse into those feelings. They experience them without losing their sense of self. Psychologists sometimes describe this as having a strong internal locus of control. In simple terms, it means your brain believes that your emotional well-being is primarily influenced by your own thoughts, values, and interpretations, not just by what happens to you. When something goes wrong, an emotionally independent person might still feel bad, but their inner dialogue sounds different. Instead of "what's wrong with me?" it becomes "this hurts, but I can handle it." That inner voice matters more than people realize. A lot of emotional dependence is learned early. If growing up, love felt conditional, if attention came and went unpredictably, if praise was rare or inconsistent, your brain may have learned that emotional safety lives outside of you, in other people's moods, in their approval, in their presence. So as an adult, you keep scanning your environment for emotional signals, trying to stabilize yourself through others. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you human, but it does mean your nervous system is working overtime. Emotionally independent people tend to have a different relationship with discomfort. They don't rush to escape it. They don't immediately numb it with distractions or seek reassurance to make it go away. They let it exist, which sounds simple, but neurologically, it's not. Sitting with an uncomfortable emotion without external soothing requires emotional regulation skills that many people were never taught. There's a concept in psychology called self-soothing. It refers to your ability to calm yourself down when you're emotionally activated. As kids, we learn this through caregivers. Over time, we internalize that process. But if that process was inconsistent, you might still be outsourcing emotional regulation as an adult, looking for someone else to make you feel okay again. Here's the tricky part. Emotional independence can feel lonely at first, because when you stop using other people as emotional anchors, there's a gap, a quiet space, and your brain hates empty space. It will try to fill it with overthinking, with doubt, with maybe I should text them again. But over time, something shifts. That quiet becomes steadiness. Emotionally independent people aren't constantly checking how they're being perceived. They're not immune to feedback, but they don't dissolve in it. Praise doesn't define them. Criticism doesn't destroy them. There's a psychological buffer between external input and internal identity. That buffer is self-trust. Self-trust doesn't mean you think you're always right. It means you believe you can survive being wrong. You can survive being disliked. You can survive disappointing someone. You don't need constant reassurance to stay emotionally upright. Think about how children learn to walk. At first, they hold on to everything: furniture, hands, walls. Eventually, they let go. They fall. A lot. Emotional independence is similar. You stop holding on to people to balance your emotions. You wobble. You fall emotionally. But you get back up without needing someone else to carry you. There's also a big difference between emotional independence and emotional isolation. Isolation says, I don't need anyone. Independence says, I enjoy people, but I'm okay without them. One is defensive. The other is grounded. You can usually tell the difference by how someone reacts when they're alone. Isolation feels tense, restless, like you're waiting for something to happen. Independence feels calm, like you're complete even in silence. Neuroscience backs this up too. When you rely heavily on external validation, your brain's reward system becomes hypersensitive to social feedback. Dopamine spikes when you're approved of, drops when you're ignored. It creates an emotional roller coaster that feels intense but unstable. Emotional independence smooths that curve. Your baseline becomes less reactive. And no, that doesn't make life boring. It actually makes it deeper, because when you're not constantly managing your emotional survival, you have more space to genuinely connect, to choose people instead of clinging to them. A lot of people worry that if they become emotionally independent, they'll stop caring. They won't love as deeply. They'll become distant. But research suggests the opposite. Secure attachment, which is closely related to emotional independence, allows for deeper intimacy because there's less fear underneath the connection. You're not loving from a place of need. You're loving from a place of choice. There's a quiet confidence that comes with knowing your emotions belong to you, that no one can take them hostage, that someone leaving, changing, or disappointing you won't erase your sense of worth. If you're listening to this and realizing you might not be emotionally independent yet, that's not a failure. It's awareness, and awareness is always the first step. Emotional independence isn't a personality trait you're born with. It's a skill, a relationship you build with yourself over time. It shows up in small moments, when you don't immediately explain yourself, when you don't chase closure, when you let someone misunderstand you and survive it, when you sit with discomfort instead of fixing it instantly, when your mood doesn't completely depend on how someone else is treating you that day. And yes, you'll still want connection, you'll still care, you'll still feel deeply, but the center of gravity shifts, your emotional home base moves inward. That's the real freedom, not being unaffected, but being self-contained. So maybe the better question isn't, am I emotionally independent? Maybe it's, where does my emotional stability come from right now? And is that something you want to keep outsourcing, or something you're ready to slowly build within yourself? If this made you reflect, sit with that for a moment. And if you want to keep exploring how your mind works, how your emotions form, and why you feel the way you do, you already know where to find the next video.